Next up, we have Jim Dailey. Jim is the founder and director of Digital Delta Design.
Short and sweet. Good? Is that good somewhat? I know you guys just had lunch, but okay. Let's see if we can get this up and running here. Everybody's waking up right now. All right. We are a small digital design company actually focusing on augmented reality specialization for actually more marketing applications, not just in all the contexts that you've seen here over the past 2 days, but actually trying to approach marketers specifically to fill a void and a need that I know that they have. I spent 10 years in advertising before going into technology education. The structure of the advertising agency is changing greatly, and the ability to have somebody on staff that can create augmented reality content across multiple platforms using different programs for different end results is very costly because it's not a cookie cutter solution that you can apply to every client's requests and needs and programs. So we're actually trying to fill a little bit of that void, and I think we're well on our way. So one of the challenges that we had this past year was working with a client called Great Batch Medical. They've been around for a while. They were founded by a guy named Wilson Greatbatch, who in 1970 actually created the first implantable pacemaker. Kind of a big deal. He's remained in Western New York, or the corporation remained in Western New York, and after the co-founding of that first implantable object, the focus of the company was to continue to put technology and effort into creating batteries that would last long enough to keep those things firing. We complain about battery life on phones, but we can recharge those. That was a little bit of a joke after lunch. Battery in the pacemaker goes, there's no, okay. All right. I'll come back to that one in case you missed it. Today, the corporation focuses on 3 main categories, and the first is what they kind of branded as cardiac rhythm management batteries, neuromodulation and vascular access, and orthopedics. So things that you put into your body to help you accomplish things, not as a recreational user, but in that medical context, okay? So they came to us through an agency and said, we have this fabulous facility that is pretty much on the same lockdown level as the Pentagon. We have access to technology and things that are proprietary, such as a specific laser cutter that is the only one in operation in the world. And we don't want to reveal everything behind the curtain, but we think that it would really kind of help us make some sales happen as our sales force goes out with an iPad with a proprietary app to show some white papers, provide a customization capability through an e-commerce capability through the app. But we'd like to kind of show them what the facility looks like. What can we do? So what we came up with was, and in great, I think, contrast to what a lot of what I've seen here over the past couple days, which is object recognition and visual scanning and visual search and image recognition. We created a 360-degree tour, packaged that, and delivered that to their personal app developers, or their app developers for this proprietary app. So inside of this mechanism, they had basically the case designer, so they could go in on a sales call and say, if this is what you like, we can make it your specific color. We could basically what they were creating was surgical trays that were prefabricated with the implements for that procedure. So the whole tray would be branded and logoed. They would be able to put that into a sterilization unit, and then almost like you're picking canned goods off a shelf, they would say, for this procedure, arthroscopic surgery, we need tray 1, 2, 4, and 7. All of which is branded with the medical facility, maybe with a little bit of SKU information on the implements that are in that tray. But I can personally design all of those things through this app. That's the idea. So we came into play with the facility tour, which was one of the 3 components in this program. And we got some timing that's messing with me here. So this is kind of a beauty shot of the facility in Indianapolis. So part of the problem is you can't let anybody get in. The other problem is it's brand new and nobody knew it was there. So you know, we want to give access, but we don't want to give access. So we created this 360 tour. We also added a lot of other stuff into it. So when you talk about the geolocation of content, when you talk about using stuff through an AR browser or accessing content through an app, you're constantly pinging that server. I've heard many people say you can load the app up so everything's local and native, but then the app is heavy and slow, and you've got to update everything and push out a new version of the app. We kept everything really light, but we pushed every boundary that we possibly could so that you can still access this content on a data connection, even if it was pretty poor. The sales force was using data-connected iPads, and again, it was for proprietary use. So it's not a recreational app. We can go to the iStore or Android Market or Android Play and pull that thing down. So as you can see on the screen, we have across the top, we have kind of a notification of in which room we are located. That says hub. In the top right is that necessary exit button. And just as you look through the facility, you can see there's that kind of blue hexagonal marker in the front with some sort of an icon. And believe it or not, that means something. So I'm just kind of titling this as screen location branding. I'm letting you know in which room you happen to be viewing right now. And keep in mind, this is that situation where as you're turning and moving on the device, the screen content is rotating at that same degree, but obviously you're in Santa Clara, California, or you're in Panama, or you're in Guam. Pretty cool application. The hexagons that we put up there, we considered visible touch points. And the idea for this was that in each of these 5 rooms that we were able to virtualize, we wanted to put some sort of ability for the customer to not only see the content, but glean what was actually happening in that area. So in this case, when you press on one of those touch points, up would pop up a quick little splash page to provide a little bit of context. And in this room, in the forming room, we use software that provides bend and blank precision. To me, that means absolutely nothing. I just checked it to make sure everything was spelled correctly. But to the sales professional that's got a multi-million-dollar account sale on the line, and to the person that's actually getting the order placed for them, this means a heck of a lot. They tell me. All right. The other thing we did was we aligned direct access to the different rooms that were included. So if I click on that Explore button on the bottom left corner, up pops that left-hand navigation button. So I've got the hub at the top. I've got the innovation room, which is actually kind of their brainstorming room. I looked very hard for like a wet bar or a keg. You know, there's all that research that says alcohol consumption actually leads to creative thought. I've been saying that for years. Too soon? Too early? Guys, bad, brutal. Okay, so the innovation room is where they innovate and they come up with these great ideas. But there's also a machining room, there's a laser cutting room, there's a forming room where they actually bend this aluminum content into, or these aluminum trays into the actual form factor. So in one of these other areas, we've got the machining room, and this is one of the mechanisms that they use in that area. and you can see one of the touch points is exposed. And it just basically says, you know, state-of-the-art software with use of the Mastercam. So they're utilizing their integrated software, their proprietary software to use these top-notch, very, very visionary resources to create something that nobody else is creating right now. I like showing this. Does that mean how much time I have left or how much time I've used?
5 minutes left.
Okay. That's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would have 6 minutes left if everybody laughed and then we could move on. But
Now you've already taken up.
that's
hers.
okay. That's right. That's all right. I'm good. Part of the problem that we recognized, you know, utilizing an app, you know, especially when you're rotating and you're looking at content, you know, based on the accelerometer and the gyroscopes, what happens when you set it down? The view that you shot, I mean, we took full 360 by 180 photography. So when I put this thing down on the ground or on the table, I'm looking essentially at the ground of the room that I'm in. So one of the things we did was put the logo dead center, basically at the nadir of that photographic experience. So leave nothing to waste. We branded the floor so that when they set it down to explain something to the person in this sales conference, they were being reinforced right there. So I just kind of uploaded a quick little overview of what the app looked like. I think many of you probably have experience looking at you know, kind of geolocated 360 content, but it's just really kind of cool to share, and I'll just share a minute of it since I have 3 left, and I certainly don't want to make enemies. But basically, as we navigate through this facility, the idea is let's go into the main area of the facility, and then let's go into another area and let's get some context. And so as this person that I'm making the sales pitch to is experiencing with my product and my facility, they really are able to make a personal experience with my brand, which is Great Batch Medical. And there's that left-hand navigation that would let me navigate directly to another room, and then the experience is replicated very nicely in all of those other areas. And there's that floor branding. Because if we took that off, you would see that there was actually a big orange scaffold lift in the middle that we used to actually photograph the middle of that facility. So this is fun for anybody that's ever had a client. They actually said, we love this, we want to do this, we have no idea what it is, how it works, but we have to have it done in 3 weeks. And this client is in Western New York, in the Buffalo area. And the facility is in Indianapolis. I shared that. So, okay, you never want to say no, right? So basically what we did was we created 2 different versions of this. The first one we implemented was a Genio channel. AR browser, platform agnostic. The Salesforce could use it. It was a private channel, so only they had access to it. While we were actually taking the same content and wrapping it into the app kernel for use with the app developers. It was extremely successful with the sales team. Of course, they didn't give me any numbers because they don't want to do that, because it's their business, I guess. But they just said, just tell everybody, Jim, that it was really good, and that should work just great. So. You know, I know I'm on my last seconds here, but there are a couple things that I really want to share from a development standpoint. I'm not a developer. I'm an ad guy. I'm an educator. I'm an evangelist. But there are some things that AR works really, really well for. And I'm not going to tell you that it's object recognition or image recognition. If you're in education, if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you're in training, thank you. There are some things that you have to do, and you have to do them very well. You have to convey information, and you have to present information. And I don't care if you kernel it as an educational topic of like digital storytelling, anything that any one of you is saying, whether it's a research project or whether you're trying to make a lot of money or get some Schedule A funding, you will have to tell a story. And this resource, all in all, augmented reality, really does that very well if you do it well. And I think that that's really imperative to keep in mind. Use the best tool for the application, because sometimes a pencil and paper, like my colleague whose notes are on paper, that's an inside joke, but that's okay. That's why you don't have to laugh on that one. But sometimes paper and pencil is the best technology to utilize. And other times you can do some really cool, really killer stuff. But just do it mindfully of the audience and the application and what that message needs to be. Okay? Thank you very much.